Well, there's not much news to cover this week. There's actually not many news. Why? Because we're in a golden week. We are going to relax and enjoy ourselves. And technically speaking, it is spring break for a lot of public school kids. At least in my area. But I lost track because I'm no longer in school. I already got my degrees. I'm good to go for life and, with a good job and pretty much a good life. Yeah. But hey, it's good to see the future generation do their things. And if there is a break for these kids, then so be it. Good for them. We all need a break. Sure, because I really want one too. I'm really in due for one. Maybe not from work yet, but in due for a podcast. This is Sparda's World Podcast, episode 59. And again, we're in a golden week. I could go for a break. So therefore, next week, there won't be no podcast episode. Because, there's no chapter to review. There won't be no Weekly Shounen Jump Manga. There won't be anything from Tokyo Ghoul. Or perhaps even for Fairy Tail as well. We won't get any of the new chapters. So, I guess it's good to call a break because I kind of like to have one, especially with me writing my thoughts. I've been active on Tumblr when it comes to writing my review, as one of people like to say, or thoughts on the chapters. Not every magazine, not every manga series, or even anime I have review. Put it on the Tumblr. There's some that I still read more series, but you just don't really put it out there. Maybe I should though, but one day I'm just one guy. These sites like Anime News Network and other bloggers have their lot of reviews, but they also have other people's watching the anime and review them in a very long, like an essay form. So I'm just one guy. I got over 9 series or even more than that. I lost. I wouldn't say I lost track, but there's just many more. So, either way, I could go for a break, and I will be happy to take this obligation. So, yeah, I'm actually in due for one. I think we all do for one. Even though unfortunately, there are series that we have read and have left a really great cliffhanger, strong cliffhanger, a really good taste, a good moment that left us for our amusement. It just seems like it's one of those trickeries that the mangaka likes to pull off. I mean, look at Boku no Hero Academia manga. If you read the manga, you will know they left from one hell of a bang. And I gotta say, it really got me interested in this series, much more than ever, which says a lot. Because, I wouldn't say I'm easily amused, but I'm not easily, I could be amused kind of easily, but I won't ever put them this is actually a 9 out of 10 manga. I'll probably give it generously 8. But with Boku no Hero Academia latest chapter, I thought it was pretty riveting. I didn't even think I would say that word. But yeah, there's some other stuff, the other series that's really going well. Hunter x Hunter's back. I'm so happy to see it back. Granted, when the first chapter came out after the long hiatus, I was so lost because I forgot the art. We're still in the middle of the art. Let alone we have a box of text that seems challenging against Death Note or Bakuman creators' work. It's I challenge you for the long text. So I was like, whoa, so many wordings. But I got back on track. I'm interested still. It's good to see it back. And we're going to get a lot of more series coming by soon. We're supposed to get a lot of new roundup series. Some series is actually coming to an end very soon. I believe that False Law of Niseko, I'm not sure how you pronounce that right. That's coming to an end soon, naturally, which is fine for them. Seems like Toriko is coming to an end as well. I really don't read it, to be honest with you. I kind of don't know if I have that much interest to try to catch up before it ended, but maybe I probably would give it a try. Who knows? It's strange because that series is just, it's a series they really, really pushed it a lot to make it seem like the next big 3 guys. They made it into like a One Piece, Dragon Ball, and Toriko. You just imagine that combination. But it didn't skyrocket. I heard the anime actually made it worse for them. I don't know if that's really true, but nevertheless, it just didn't seem like it skyrocketed the popularity of Toriko. I mean, it helped when the anime showed up. It helped a good boost, but then after that, it just went downhill in terms of sales. It never really stabilized. It's not like where Shokugeki no Soma, it stabilized the sales. Maybe not at the peak, but it's in a good rate. It's a rate of a good success, a rounding success. Nevertheless, it's not even a battle manga. Just imagine that. And not a battle manga, and it's doing a good sale. So what was the case for Toriko? It's a battle manga. It should be doing good. I mean, it can't be that guaranteed, but it should be doing better than it needed to be, but it's not. So, and then you got the ranking. If you have a low sale and the ranking is low, you're asking for cancellation, and you don't have anime to back it up. So with other series, you know, Gintama is considered gag, even though Sorochi doesn't really consider it as a gag. He considered just a manga. They would still classify as a gag, which I don't approve, but whatever. That's to each of their own. But with Toriko, it's about a manga. It has to do good. It has to be better than the mid-range of the ranking. It has to sell well, but it doesn't. It doesn't sell well than Naseko. It doesn't sell well as World Trigger, which is underrated. But it doesn't sell well as a gang manga Gintama. It doesn't sell well than Bleach. And Bleach always in the down ranking, but the sales still good. You know, not as peak good, but it's good, you know, compared to a lot of things they have out there. So what's going on? You know, it's a shame, but it sounds like it does come to an end. A lot of people have been saying the manga has reaching to the point that it's actually ending a lot of things. So if that's really the case, that's too bad. But what can you do? It's what happens when these kind of things goes through. But yeah, that's not much to say. Again, we're gonna have that Boruto sequel. I'm not sure if I'm excited. I'm not sure if anyone is excited because, one, I don't know what's the story about. Some say it's actually retelling of Boruto the movie. I pray to God it's not. And two, it's supposedly, not supposedly, it is made by different creators. Yes, it's getting supervised by the original creator, Kishimoto himself, but you know, the assistant is doing the artwork while one of the novelists, the one that did the Gara Hiden, is going to do the storyboard part. And, you know, I don't know about the story wise, but looking at the art wise, it's something else. Look, well, I'll be the judge soon. I'll find out how is this maybe I will talk about it in the next podcast, or maybe I'll make it extra. I'll think about it. But hey, it is a new series. But hey, you know, it is based on the old series, but it's supposed to be a sequel and stuff like that. At least it's something new. But well, anyway, Golden Week is here, so we could take a break from the manga. Anime is still going on. They're showing all these episodes, you know, new episodes. So hey, at least you got you something to look after still. But I'm taking a break from podcasts because I do reviews, only manga chapters, and maybe there may be news, there may be not that much newsworthy. The only newsworthy I only got was about these movies that has been released. And of course, we got the very new movie of Yu-Gi-Oh! We finally got the Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie that opens up in Japan already. And what else? You know, you got the Detective Conan, which, by the way, the Detective Conan, the 20th anniversary? No, the 20th anime film. The 20th movie is called Detective Conan Darkest Nightmare. It earns the franchise highest opening weekend box office. And not only that, his number one is sold over 1.2 billion yen in the opening weekend. It's phenomenal. It's I believe in the second week it still opens up there, still opens as number one again. I believe estimated around 600 million yen. I think it's yen. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a popular this series. I don't know about Yu-Gi-Oh, the latest movie. I don't know if it sold well. I don't even know if it opened up a lot of theater screenings. I don't even know anything about that. I just know it's a new movie, and I'm pretty sure the Americans who knows about the series for so long are going to be thrilled to see the new movie. I'm actually kind of curious to see the movie, though. I haven't read a summary of anywhere else. Maybe there is a summary out there, but I probably don't have that much of attention to find it myself because I probably don't care that much, but I am still curious nonetheless. What it did is, Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimension. I think it probably did 200,000 or even less than 200,000, 200 million or even less than that. It probably did around 130 million or something like that. I don't know. At this time I didn't get the real estimate. The real actual, so I'm only estimating. I only seen the estimates. I believe the estimate could be lower than that. That's the only newsworthy I have. Everything else is all on the break. I'm only just predicting what could be next. So we're recapping all these Shonen Jump. I gotta say, the Shonen Jump are very, they're getting very packed up. They're getting very filling. They're getting very full because they got a lot of series. And Hunter x Hunter coming back, it didn't help. So it made it more jam pack of series, which is nice, but at the same time they're not gonna wanted to have that many series. They're gonna kick somebody out very soon. But hey, Assassination Classroom Extra, the side story ended, so Niseko is coming to an end from what I heard, so that's coming out too. Toriko seems like it's ending because of cancellation, which sucked, but what can you do? So hey, there may be room for more. So maybe a lot of series will be safe anyway. Anyway, that's really much it. I can talk about the news. It's Golden Week. We all need a break. I think we all can ask for one right now. Kind of wish I was a kid because I get an automatic free break, and because of spring break, that would have been nice for me. Unfortunately, in my work field, I do have vacation days, but I gotta use them wisely. I'm not going to use them this week. Probably use it very soon, but not this week. Kind of wish I have unlimited. Okay, not unlimited. That would be abusive. But I kind of wish I have more than 2 weeks. I think I have only 2 weeks of vacation days. Oh well, that's life for you.
Where you going? 光全部集めて君の明日照らすよ
I gotta say, when it comes to this chapter, when it comes to Fairy Tail no less, this is the chapter that really has a polarizing feelings about this chapter. Mainly when it comes to the negative side, it's really negative. And then when it comes to the positive, it's basically like the usual pretty good chapter, great chapter, or stuff like that. As for me, I find this chapter to be just fine. It was a fine chapter, mainly because some of the elements that's actually there. I thought the art is pretty nice, especially the design of the character that's shown at the very end of the chapter. And they got the job done, having the battles over, having the Historia mishmash and whatever all taken care of, and then we could proceed to the next phase of the series. This arc. However, it has been hard. It has been, I can't say damage. I don't want to say use the term damage, but it has been hindered by this redundancy, the usual method that the Fairy Tail has been doing for such a long time, continuing not letting the Spring of 12 being a threat as they supposed to be, or the expectation that the series has built up. Whether it's hyping up or is overhyped by the fans themselves, it still doesn't just. It just never really brought them into the level of being feared or something. It's something that's convincing that the Spring of 12 has been built so long. They will be very terrorizing. They will be very threat to the entire Ishgard continent. and something that shakes up a bit more than the Tartarus arc, but instead it seems like a backward. It seems like everything is more not so hard, not so threatening, and not so challenging as it's supposed to be, or something more risky, as much as like Tartarus arc, as we all remember how much sacrifice a lot of characters has to be made and a lot of emotional investment they actually put them into. But in this one, it's not so much, and it keep hindered because of the path they keep going, the same redundancy. And for some reason, this chapter has been harbored by nothing but a one-shot deal from every character that was in a battle. I guess we should get to the chapter itself. Well, as we remembered from the last chapter, Ursa taking care of her hysteria, and Giao pretty much is all pissed off, and he's gonna cast a powerful magic spell, and the sky turned dark, and this is where Meridi actually realized that this magic is being done by it's obviously a magic that's so powerful, as Giao considered as another sin for him to tone. And basically this whole battle, the battles that we've seen from this one, is more of a more or less of a callback from the last time they have met before, especially with Gray and Leon, where it seems like it actually connects to the very first arc, or the very first arc as a fairy tale gift. If I recall, this is the first arc, basically with the arc with Leon and Gray being the focus of the story, and is talking about like how much of the path they have gone to. Gray has gone to a long path, and his journey has been one hell of a ride. For Leon, it's more of something that just never really go anywhere, and that's where Gray has the opportunity to pretty much tell him that he could finally walk to a path. He could finally take that first step of his new path that he could find, and this is where he would go to. And the battle, that if anything, that's the only side of the story that gets the most focus when it comes to the refighting the dead series of battles. When he also gets some with Charla, but it's more or less than Gray and Leon one, and it's the usual thing. Again, it seems like a lot of callback from whatever their moments they have. That's basically based on there. And the funny one to me was the Meridi and Juvia. Granted, they are close friends. They do trust each other. I just find it funny with the whole magic of hers just come out of just like, oh yeah, I forgot about this magic or something like that. It feels like, why not just do it in the first place? That's not like a build or requirement or anything like that. Not at least to my knowledge there wasn't any, but it just so happened that she has that Magilti equal sense. I don't know if that's how you say it, right? But that's part of the magic, and it's something that supposedly is a combination of the two people to work together, and supposedly it powers up many times as how strong the link is, or something like that. It's kind of like a power up version of a Nakama power, as people likes to comment about this series, and it is kind of funny because that is pretty much how it works in some form of way. I just find it funny that it just happened like now, rather than like, oh yeah, I forgot I got this power. I mean, that's what they pretty much did without really saying like that, but it's like, why not just do it in the first place? Why you have to make it seem, and why you have to time it perfectly with everybody else? It's just such a contrived timing in order to make everybody do the one-shot segment, which everybody actually do the one-shot. I don't mind the one-shot moment, but this one was like 5. There were like 5 of them. Actually, if you really want to count to 6, you have to include Kagura one, which is kind of funny because it happened kind of sudden. Even though she already experienced that once, it just seems a little funny how the panel placement were. It was like I got your Historia Gia, this Simone, I guess that's pronounced in there, in the series, the Japanese version. Then you see Kagura just come out of nowhere and just slice him. And I understand she acknowledged it. It's just the way how it's panelized, the way how it's paneled, the way how it's drawn, the way how it's transitioned, kind of feels a little funny. It's just me. It's like, nope, deny. It just looked kind of odd for that scene. But it is what it is, and it's supposed to be, the idea is nobody really trusts the illusion because they're just illusion, and that's pretty much it. Everybody does their one shot. Gia perform a Grand Chariot, which obviously looks pretty deadly from from just having a double page, and it takes down, I was going to call him Mysteria. It takes down Nihilheart, and wouldn't you know it, he's been defeated. And naturally, everybody defeat their enemies. It happened pretty fast, which I guess that's another thing. It feels like it has to be this way because we're going on the break. So to say, going on the break for this magazine. And it just seems like they want to get it done and want to leave a cliffhanger, which could be interesting, but I'm extremely iffy, which I'll get to very soon. But anyway, the whole everybody does their strong attack. It's just too goody. I don't know. The problem is that everything doesn't feel like the Spring of 12 has left a mark. 7 of them, I believe, 7 of them were taken out, if I recall the right number. Let's see, 3. I gotta count all these guys. 4, 5. Yeah, I think there were like 7. I think I don't remember. So it's the problem with this guy. Look. Some of the battles I enjoyed, but I just wish they leave more of a threatening remark. When Tartarus arc happened, they left a mark for these characters and for the outside environment. These guys were killing people, and they did their job. And then when it comes to Fairy Tail, granted they didn't kill them, but they did leave a bad mark to them, and some of them had to pay the sacrifice. And unfortunately, this arc has to make the sacrifice into whatever, especially with the whole Aquarius one, but let's forget about that for now. Point is, this arc needs tension. This arc needs to have us fear, needs to have these characters don't be laying back because you're winning so many times. These characters needs to fear, these characters needs to lose more. They don't need to die. They just have to have more toll to the battle. It's funny because we only got with Demiria versus Sherdia and Wendy, with the whole one of y'all had to sacrifice magic and you would never use magic again. That's what sacrifice is. But then everybody else there's no price to pay. There is no sacrifice. So everything, yes, it's just 7 Springers members are down. Now, okay, I just calculated out. Anyway, back to this. The point is, these guys don't leave anything to let them sacrifice or suffer. These guys celebrating like they're about to have an aftermath party. Something that you always see in One Piece or even Fairy Tail themselves. But they have that feeling. It sounds really, really cruel for me to say you're not supposed to have good things. All I'm saying is you're in a war arc. When you're in a war arc, terror has to be first and foremost, no matter what. As much as war is something that we would like to avoid, there's a reason to avoid it. It's because it brings terror. It brings humanity at loss. It brings fear, a greatest fear of them all. So with this series, it hasn't had that yet. It's because everybody gets lucky. Yes, I can understand that Arcalugia and Seraph can be the one to bring the terror, but it just seems like you don't want. I just don't want one man to do the work. You might as well say like, well, there was no point of having a Spring of 12. I could just do it by myself. It's like some Thanos from Marvel Cinematic Universe moment. But even there, they have more redeeming remarks. They have all those all those stories for these characters. But back to Fairy Tail. Point is, there's not that much to be, not to be thrilled at. I mean, I enjoy some of the battles because they require less ass pull, even though some can be ass pull, but at least there are some told to go with it. And even Urza, despite she managed to break that part away, which is kind of still weird. Unfortunately, it seems like she's okay. Unfortunately for the people that doesn't like her, or rather doesn't like her battles, it seems like we're not done with her. And that's where we get to the transition to the Fairy Tail Guild, which, by the way, that felt rushed because it felt like the entire battle these guys had were just nothing but an afterthought. And I'm like, okay, good to know. You try to make a poetic thing, say, look at the scarlet sky and stuff like that. And then we go back to Fairy Tail. You might as well add, meanwhile, but there was none of the narration. Whatever. So we'll go back to Fairy Tail, and Natsu wants to fight August because, he wants to destroy the hype that we all are falling for, or rather, hoping for to keep the hype. But no, that's suicidal. And then that's where Brandish, who is free now because Natsu thought it's okay, she could be trusty. Again, leave no tension behind, but that's just too many jokes. Even One Piece doesn't do that much joke when the Marine 4 arc happened, because that arc was legitimately a crazy arc to behold. And it's a war, no less, that everybody was gonna get killed. So this just doesn't have that necessary to do that. But anyway, back to this. Brandish clarified that, August is indeed the strongest, but she really didn't really say he's the strongest individual. She really specified as the strongest man, but there is a strongest woman, and that's where we get the cliffhanger ending, or I guess you could call it cliffhanger, with I still think I'm hoping I'm going to try to say the best that I can for her name. Eileen Belsurion. And that is considered the Scarlet Despair. She is considered the strongest woman in the Spring of 12, or perhaps the entire world. And she's pretty much, I think it's safe to say she's related to Urza at the very least. My best guess, she's Urza's mother. And I guess I guess that will only mean one thing, that Urza will have to fight once again. And I guess you could say she's going to have 3 fights in this entire arc alone. It's pretty dazzling, actually. I don't even know. I mean, I know a lot of people really don't like her fight. I'm part of it. Some parts it can be cool, but it's the storytelling of her battle is what makes it really damaging and really kills the mood and kills the fun, because it seems redundant. It seems like repetitive. I know it's the same thing. They're both redundant, the irony. But my point is, it feels like we've seen this so many times. And now we're seeing the strongest woman from Spring of 12 may go against the strongest woman from Fairy Tail. It's supposed to sound exciting, but it almost sounds like, here we go again. And I don't want it to feel that way. I want to be excited. And it doesn't help that she just introduced right away, but nevertheless, it's just the idea that Urza has a record of doing a lot of ass pull, doing a lot of John Cena style combat system, a very underdog overused storyline of looking like he's about to lose, only to come back greatly and overcome the odds. It's something that needs to calm itself down. And I could only hope that Mashima has something in store, but I really don't think that's going to happen. But, it's a fine chapter. I like the design for Eileen. I like her design. I like the entire one-shot thing, even though that's a little bit overdone. But, the arts is pretty nice. At least the job is done. At least we get to focus on more. It seems like they're going to focus on the other Springer members that supposedly be more threatening and supposedly be more terrifying. But we'll see how that's going to go down. They just need to start doing a lot more damage soon. Especially to Fairy Tail Guild. They're being too happy for too long. Sounds cruel, but you got to have a good balance, guys. That's just my opinion. So the problem is, again, it just seems like everything is same old. The threat of Spring of 12 continue to lessen or continue to not being there at all. And it just needs to be worked. It just needs to work on now. Now we only have, I guess, 5 members or 6 members. I don't even know why they call it Strong 6 or something like that for the next chapter. But regardless, it just needs to start doing something something engaging, something that's gonna make us like really invested with this entire battle, the entire war. And hopefully that's gonna come now with the remaining of them. And I think this break would benefit Mashima in the long run. But I can only hope for that. We could only hope for that. When you want to talk about brutalizing a person, well, try Gintama Chapter 585. Talk about a brutal fight. Yeah, it's a great fight so far. And even though it's not over, it's something that's actually more different take of the fight. And that's always a great thing for Gintama. Because Gintama always provide a different type of style of fighting, a different type of reason. It's always fun to see these new things. So personally, I find this chapter a pretty good one. Actually, I would say a great chapter. It just seems so epically brutal, and it's, you know, of course it doesn't need to be so gory as in like cutting limbs off or anything like that. It just has to show the detail, the very detail of a person losing their hand or losing their arm or losing control of their body. This chapter provide that, and it was actually kind of hard to see, to be honest with you. It's you know, I know I read a lot of series. I read a lot of series like cutting limbs to limbs. You know, those crazy gory anime manga, because why not? You know, but still, it still makes me cringe. Most likely because these characters are very, you know, so bright, and so the character like Gintoki is always somebody I always look up to, because he's just a great protagonist in my opinion, at least in the Shonen Jump, or Shonen no less. But he's one of the best protagonists I have seen in the series, in any form of series, and that's saying a lot for me, because I have read so many of them, and it's just funny because he doesn't need to be those usual, overly energetic, the generic main characters that you see in shonen, and something that people like to avoid these days. But you know, you're always gonna get some of those. But with Gintoki, he's just so awesome in this. And this chapter, it just makes him. It doesn't make him like a wimp. Doesn't make him look like a usual protagonist, but instead it makes him a badass and a very one of a kind guy out there. Even with saying the stuff you usually hear from other series is done in more of a mature way, and it's done in more of a way that you could really get behind this guy. It's not, because I never give up. It's never used the very minimum level of saying that writing line. It's kind of remind me of how Final Fantasy VI were. Like, you should know the way how the story's been done. It seems like an obvious story that has been done a million times before. But for whatever reason, you care about these characters so much. But why? Well, it's just because it's written well. And that's what Gintama did. It made it well done. It made the chapter seem very important and very crucial to the character, which is why I really find this chapter to be great. So we go with the flashback with Umabozo and Gintoki way back when he fought Hosen, the aftermath of Hosen, with Umabozo seeing like if Gintoki can perhaps change something, because Yato family is already a pretty corrupted family with the intention of loving to fight in every time, and they are powerful as hell, but they are bloodthirsty, and maybe Kagura being a human Earth, the human world, may be able to have some different perspective view. And then we finally get to see the fight, and at the same time, Umabozo gets the idea that Gintoki is actually, forced himself to fight Kamui because he's actually trying to protect Umabozo from getting any more hit, getting killed, because now he's down. He may be not dying, or maybe he is dying, but he's not dead. point is, he's not really. Gintoki is not going to let him get killed off by his own son, and not only that, but also protects Kagura's feelings because she was about to break when she saw Kamui almost near trying to kill their fathers. It's just crazy to even see that sight. Just imagine if that really went through. So Gintoki is fighting what seems to be like an impossible, because the fact that not only Kamui is a Yano clan, is not a Yano family, not only he's that powerful, not only he was trained under Hosen, but he's actually stronger than Hosen. And you can't really find that BS, because you go back to the old chapter. Remember, they were fighting on an equal footing, but they were interrupted, and it only begs the question: who would have won in that battle? Nobody would have known. But it seems like perhaps Kamui would have won the battle if the fight would have never been interrupted. So seeing this is actually a pretty scary thought, because we know Yano family are dangerous species. We know they can be really deadly. We know they can really their strengths and all those attributes of what to make them strong is like tenfold of a human being. So it's just crazy to see Kamui just go after Gintoki, and then every hit, it seems like it really, really hurts. And I'm like many times there are series that just have like when it hits the person, it feels like a normal touch. But in this moment, it's actually, every hit feels like it hurts like hell. It feels like it's heavily damaged. The only thing we're missing is like an X-ray vision, something out of Mortal Kombat latest video games. It's something that we only needed to get to the obvious that punch looks brutal. The damage looks brutal. When Gintoki got fist to fist, it didn't do any harm to Kamui, but it did so much harm to Gintoki. And then they continue to fight. A lot of good choreography in this fighting. So well done. It's so, it's so much investment that we could have, because Kamui is going through so many, he's going through the idea about the emptiness, as Gintoki is fighting for something else that gets addressed by the end of the chapter. But these fights, these two guys are going at each other. These two are pretty much pretty much could describe as two guys that felt empty. That two guys that are empty, and they are fighting each other. And every panel, it just seems brutal because of the way how Gintoki has to block the attack. When he blocks the attack, it doesn't seem like he just blocks it and then he would just counterattack. Instead, he blocks it, but at the same time, he gets heavily damaged to his hand, and you can see the sound effects breaking his bones at the same time, rupturing his skins off. It's brutal. It's crazy because it's not like it doesn't need to be that gory, as in like showing the skin peeling off, bloody off, like the intense agony. All you need to do is let us know what that panel is trying to show us, what these panels are trying to say, and that's what this chapter did well. It tells us these damages are really hurtful. These damages are really not hurting him as in making him bleed, but breaking the bones in his hands and breaking the bones in whatever place. Like when he gets hit in the stomach, it just spilled out so much blood from his gut, from inside. And again, normally when you block the punch, it would just be like you block it and that's it. But in this case, he blocked it, but he's not as strong as him, and it just gets hurt so badly. It just hit the rock and then just skirmish. It's agony. And what I also like is that you see the amount of detail of Gintoki trying to pick up the weapon, trying to pick up the sword, but he wobbles because his hand is so fractured. And instead of like actually have willpower to use his hand and continue to fight, instead he uses cloth, rip it off, tie it very tight, and actually have his sword tied up with his hand, so that way he can continue to fight. And the thing about Gintoki, he never had a look of defeat, or never have a look of fear, or a look of like, ooh, this is so, ooh, that was close. Instead, he's like, is that all you got? You know, he has the look of like, come on, well, I'm not done. You know, he kept going. He always keep looking badass at one point, especially when he gets up and tries to sneak attack with against Kamui with that eyes glare of seeing his enemy. The only difference is he doesn't see Kamui as the enemy. But then that's where we get him. We get the whole Kamui asking him about him, like, what about you? You know, what about your sense of emptiness? And then he's like, you know, I was empty, and that is the truth. He was empty. So this is the first time we get Gintoki actually expressing his own feelings, his own intake, his take on his life with the Yaozuya, and as well as the everybody else, including Shishigumi, and you know, with every friends that we have met from the entire series, and we finally get to see what his insight and you know, at the same time he's saying out loud to Kagura and Senpachi. Last chapter, Kagura finally gets to hear what Gintoki fears about Kagura being part of the family. Now in this one, he's talking about him, how he feels like what to have a family once again. Because back then, he once have such a family love until everybody died in the war. And then everybody split apart. Let's not forget, he was supposed to die out there in the graveyard until Otose shows up and, you know, pretty much she helped him to get, you know, to get rent a place and pretty much start a new life. And that's what he did. And everything takes a turn, and now he's there where he is, and he doesn't feel empty anymore. The only enemy he has in his mind is himself of feeling fear, himself of feeling to run away from everything he has treasured to this point. And that's where he tells Kamui that he'd never care about the strongest title. He doesn't care about any title. He doesn't even care about being called brother. That's just stupid. And he doesn't care about, well, not little brother, not brother, but the idiot brother, big brother. He doesn't care about anything he hears. All he knows is he's Ginchan. Yes, that's what he said, Ginchan. Which I felt like it actually it hit the home run to the entire conflicting issue with the Yado family and Kagura's feeling. It feels like it's really a closing chapter to this thing. It's not done because the fight is still going on, but Gintoki is having a hard time. He barely could get up. If the sword breaks, he's done. Kamui seems like he's ready to go for round 15, while Gintoki could go only round 2 at this rate. It just looks, I mean, it's possible Gintoki could still win, but you never know, because every fight Gintoki doesn't really need to win. Gintoki doesn't really win. He doesn't, you know, there's always a different circumstances, which is why this series always has this, which is why the battles always feels fresh every time, because it just feels like every circumstance they always have a different meaning behind it, and it always feels like we always see these fights for a different reason rather than just fight because they just want to fight. So that's always something that Gintama always done so well. And yeah, that's the proud thing about this chapter. I really enjoyed this chapter so damn much. Unfortunately, we're on a break, and I'm not sure what the next chapter would take us. Either the end of the battle, I'm not sure if Gintoki will win. He could win, but we don't know because it seems very hard right now. And I guess it does make sense why Gintoki didn't really go all out back in the first fight he had, because if he were to get a lot of damage and then he fight Kamui, it would feel very unrealistic. So that's why the first battle ends up being more of a mind game, which makes more sense either way anyway. So I really like this path where we're going, but we'll see how that's going to go down now. I'm not sure how this is all going to end. I mean, I'm still hoping for Gintoki to win, but you never know with these cases. Sometimes that's what Gintama does best, is make you expect the unexpected. Alright, this chapter, this is a great stuff. This chapter left us hanging for the next chapter, and clearly Ishida knows that damn well that we have a break, and he's going to leave us thinking what's going to happen next, what is going to unfold, and damn it, it has to be a 2-week break. It seems like he got the memo, and yeah, here we are. I'd say this chapter was pretty damn great. It actually has one poetic thing that I really didn't close my eyes before. Until somebody in one of the posts, even he doesn't know where he got it from. But it seems very interesting. I'm trying my best what it means, but I guess it really does tie in with the entire character of Arima, and as well as to tie in with the beginning of the chapter, which was a bit questionable because of what is exactly going on in that moment. But nevertheless, the chapter was great because of a lot of build-up. This is the really strong hype for what could be the epic battle of the century, because it seems like it could be the end-all be-all with Kaneki versus Arima. It seems like it could really end one of them off. I'm guessing maybe Arima, or maybe something else will happen entirely. And then it left with the cliffhanger that just seems like anything is gonna go much worse than is already shown, even when that compactor is supposed to be just enough, but obviously there's gonna be much more, and our fear of losing characters is still ongoing, unfortunately. So, and it doesn't even include Root Island situation yet, so just imagine how much stuff we gotta go through in the time being. But definitely this arc seems very, very major game changer of the series thus far. Oh boy. So let's go with the beginning. I'll actually skip out the young Arima scene for a little bit because it actually has a point, at least according to what this guy is trying to bring out the idea behind the butterfly scene. Kaneki, this is the conflicting part, which I really enjoy reading this because it seems very parallel to his actual father, the father that he really never got to, bond with, because at a very young age, never really got to bond, but it only could imagine use of the narration of a story from the books he has read, because you remember that's how his character is. And, Kaneki character, actually, that's still his character. In fact, he has done this as Sasaki with Arima this time around. And what's interesting is that all those hype that we have seen so much from everybody, from Yui, from Haru, from every other characters, Akira, every single one. You always hear great things. You always hear praise. You always hear like, oh, he's like the top of the game. He is like a Ghoul himself. He's the Reaper. But the one thing that has in common, and I really didn't, and that's one thing I actually didn't notice. Maybe I should have noticed, but it's just never caught my mind. And that's the fact that nobody really commented him on who he is or what he is or what, his personality. They just know that, oh, he's damn strong. He could take down a lot of Ghoul. But what about anything about him? What's his hobby? How is he? What he does in normal casual days? How friendly he is? Does he go out and have fun? Anything about that? None of that you hear from him. Nobody tells Sasaki, when he was Sasaki at the time, how he is. All he got is, this guy is terrifying. Because, guess what? Arima life is all nothing but nothing as a soldier. A powerful soldier, a lethal soldier, a mercenary. He's just that. And for whatever reason, even though Sasaki doesn't understand him, he still sees him as a father. That is interesting because it seems like it does connect to what happens with this entire chapter, especially the way how Arima actually starts to speak up to Kaneki in something that we never thought we would see so long, because Arima is a muted guy. He does his job. He finds a Ghoul, he kills the Ghoul, end of story. That's how he works. But in this case, he really talks to him a lot, to the point that he knows that Kaneki is actually going out there just to die. For what? Just to save his friend? Protect his friend? Here's the problem. Once he dies, he's going after them. And once he go after them and finds them, he will kill them. And that's what troubles Kaneki. He sees nothing but corpses around Arima. Every time he sees Arima talking about or just being there, he just sees nothing but corpses of his friends or anybody else, because that's what Arima do. He kills. He is a mercenary. He is a reaper. It's just as simple as that. Now, that's something that's interesting that didn't come to my mind. It's astounding to hear the fact that he threatened him to kill his loved one, and he even tells him that he could have fatally wounded him in 645 tries. 645 times he could have killed them or fatally wounded him, and then it would take just 2 seconds just to end his life. So in other words, he would have been killed him. So why didn't he do that? But before I get to that part, I have to mention about the 645 part. It's actually a more of a number. Supposedly it's a number of times that Arima could have killed Kaneki or fatally wounded him. However, it's actually something, a poetic thing. It's something a metaphor thing speaking. And it's supposedly it can be also read as Mushigo. That's separate words, dashed up. Mushigo. Or it basically implies bug go, as implying that Arima. Now, I have to go back to the beginning of the chapter. The beginning of the chapter has Arima when he was young, when he still have blue hair, I think. Dark hair, let's just go with that. When he still have that hair. And this is where he was in the garden, which still leaves a lot of mystery what's behind that garden. But nevertheless, the point is, he finds a butterfly. He catch a butterfly, and he just recalls it as a bug. He catches it, though. So, in this way, 645, if it's supposed to be read as Mushigo, it could imply that it says bug go. That means it can be that Arima doesn't want to kill Kaneki, or he doesn't want to die. He doesn't want him to die. That's something very hidden message, and that could be true. I don't think that's not coincidence. I do believe that Ishida has been very subliminal with his messages. He has been very metaphorically speaking. He has been very symbolic, and is actually addressed in a very clever way. And this one can be one of them. And the strange part is, he says 645 times. He doesn't want him to die. But 646, however, can be read as Mushimu, and that implies the bug doesn't exist anymore. In other words, the next hit, which he would have done it 645 times, then that means the next time he will die. Kaneki will die by the hands of Arima. So it's like it goes both ways. And, it could either stop at 645 or it could go to 646. You have to choose your fate. And that's some symbolic message that Ishida cleverly used on this one. And of course, it cannot be coincidence. He chose that number for that reason. It is very symbolic. And I thought that was such a strong way to show what is the situation between Arima and Kaneki. And not only that, but it just seems like that fact that we still don't know why Arima is, I'm quoting this, helping Kaneki. Why is he telling him what to do? Why is he provoking him to, like, hey, you gotta go all out or your friend's going to die? Why would you do that? Why? Of course, he's not learning by the Saiyans logic. Oh, let's have everybody go full transformation. And if I get killed, well, that's my fault. I'm pretty sure there's a major reason for it. But it seems like one of the reasons has to be that he really has a sense of care, a sense of attachment to Kaneki. It has to be. Just to me, there's a lot of hints between these two from beginning of this series. that these two are actually bonded in a very strange relationship way, but it seems like they really bonded. Something that perhaps Arima could only bond this way because maybe it's something about they see each other. Maybe Arima sees Kaneki as him. I don't know what's the deal, especially the fact he's an enemy now. It's not like this is the training in progress to be the best CCG. This right now, Kaneki is the enemy. He is a ghoul. So why Arima is doing this way? Why Arima is so relaxed and why Arima is helping him? That part really puzzling, but it makes it very interesting to see this relationship between them and to see how a Reaper bond with an enemy, no less. Or, I mean, it can be considered as a son, but it's just the way how it's handled is something that's very bewildered, but it's very interesting and it's very captivating. It captures the right set of the series, and it also captured the right emotion balance between these two. I mean, Anime doesn't have that emotion, but it seems like his words has a lot of sayings, even though his words about threatening him is very scary, very grim, and can be badass in my opinion. But nevertheless, it just seems like it's just amazing to hear him talk to his enemy. So why? I guess we have to wait a couple of chapters. And then that's where Kaneki finally goes to Kaguya mode, which seems like it's incomplete, and it seems like it's getting a remake, a makeover, I guess you could say, because it has Ito Kagane in him. So it seems like it's getting remake and stuff like that. And he does in fact breaks Arima Quinque the Xia. I think that's how you say the name. Xixa. But then somebody likes to drop a care package. So somebody dropped a care package for him. And what'd you know? He got a new Quinque. But it happens to be the Quinque that's made out of, you guessed it, Yoshimura Kagane. In other words, owl. This is a Quinque of owl. Or owl Quinque. That's insane. I don't know what's the deal. I don't know how this is gonna go down. Arima still didn't get touched. He could probably get damaged here right now. He couldn't even die. I don't know if he will die. Maybe he will die in this chapter. It's sure build up a lot that makes him look like he's going to die. That said, isn't there a lot of mystery to behold? Isn't there a lot of mystery that needs to unfold, needs to solve? I don't know if that's really the case. It can be solved by something else. One thing I had to mention in the flashback, in the very beginning of the page, the very first page of the chapter, young Arima was with somebody, and to my guess, it might be the director of the CCG, basically that Washu, the old guy. That could be him, but maybe it could be someone else. Who knows? But it sure left a mystery. But anyway, again, maybe this is the time Arima can die. I don't know. Anything can happen. I don't think Kaneki could die. Can he? None of those. But it does leave to a real fight to begin. And it feels like the fight is going to have a conclusion that is going to change everything. And I don't know how this is going to go down. Again, Arima can die, but maybe something else will happen. I don't know. It has a lot of death flags on him for now, but we'll see how that's going to untold. Now, we go to the whole... Oh, before we get to that whole thing, actually, Ito, we actually see her once more, and we see her conniving smile, and it does seem like she did eat her editor, because, what's his name? Furata left the pate for her, and she did eat it, and it seems like she's enjoying what's going on with Kaneki. At least that's what I'm assuming, but that's the only thing I could assume the most. But yeah, that she's just enjoying there. I don't even know if she really has a plan. It felt like she has something in mind, but I don't even know. But she's enjoying everything. Again, she has a sense of trying to take down the big organization, which is the V organization, but the way how she does stuff or the way how she drills is all black area. It's still her. Anyway, now we go with the last scene, which I called it. Well, I think a lot of people called it, but it's something that really brings a lot of questions. But we'll get to that very, very soon. When Banjo and everybody else is reunited, happen to see the moment of Banjo and Hinami reunited, and then you see Ayato once again, very sincere. I never seen a guy smile so much in terms of this guy, because I don't think I ever seen him smile in the last arc. And I'm not including smiles like ha ha ha, let's put a smile on that face, nothing like that. I'm talking about like a normal warm smile. But yeah, here is more, you get more of those from Ayato. Speaking of Ayato, he does ask Toka if she's okay with the whole Kaneki, and I like the fact that it clarified more of what I just said from 2 chapters ago of my thoughts on the chapter, my review on the chapter, that Toka understands the situation. She understands where Kaneki put himself in, and she understands that Kaneki is not there to be the savior, to be the winner. He's only there to protect these guys, to protect her from Arima and anyone else from the Kochila. It makes sense. It makes most logical sense, and it's nice to see they're not trying to make him into a Jesus icon. It's not like, oh, I count on him to win. Instead, it's more like I can understand the difference between winning and protecting. It justified what I said. Unfortunately for these guys, the compactor turned back on because it's supposed to stay off, but it turned back on. And, surely, supposedly, nobody was supposed to know they were there, or nobody was supposed to be ahead of them. But instead, they were. And that happened to be, you guessed it, Furuta, which a lot of people predict that was going to happen. I predict that was going to happen. But my problem is, how the hell he come back so well? That is not possible for a human. Human has to go through surgeries or healing process, something on the hospital bed. But this guy, he's back fresh and new. Why? Is he a ghoul? My best guess is he has to be a ghoul. But it raises a lot of questions. If he's a washu, what the hell? What does that mean? Is Furuta supposed to be... If Furuta is supposed to be a washu, that means... Is Washu family, it has some ghoul in there? Did something the director did that something, I don't know. It's a lot of conflicting issues with that moment. But it makes it much worse that he brought V organization. That can't be any more troubling than we have right now. Especially the fact that, even if Ayato, Toka, and everyone else escape from the crush, they still have to deal with the reorganization, so they have to sneak away because those guys, supposedly they are much worse than anything they could have gone through. Maybe not with Arima, maybe Arima is in the same level, who knows, but the fact is, the organization is not your common CCG investigator, not your rank 1. They're probably like in the high rank, the S ranks, or whatever. They can be very threatening, so I will advise them for not even go for it. But that is troubling still. Again, Furuta should not be up and running. He should be down and out, and either dead or not. But he's not. He's all happy. He's joying out of his mind. Why? Because he's a ghoul? Right? Hopefully confirmation will come very soon, and hopefully Hinami comment like, how's that possible? Because she is the one that stabbed him pretty badly, but here he is. So left a cliffhanger on that note. It left a cliffhanger on the what could be the conclusion battle between Kaneki and Arima. So definitely a hell of a chapter. Just a lot of build, and it just give us a 2-week break. Good timing on you, Ishida. Damn it. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. I really think that the next chapter is going to be a chapter that's really going to change everything about the series. It's going to change the path. And, again, maybe Arima could die. Maybe Kaneki will still lose. Whatever is going to happen. I feel like something major is going to happen. I don't even know what is, but it's something. It's going to be really something. 2 weeks. Got a lot of things to think over. And that will do it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. remember, no episode next week. No podcast episode because we're on a Golden Week break. So there will be no new chapters from Weekly Shounen Jump or any other magazine. And, it kind of sucks. But hey, I think we all do it for break. And, next week will be something else. You will get a lot of new chapters from a lot of series. And then some new ones. I bet you know what I'm talking about. I guess you could call it the long-awaited sequel. I'm not sure if you really want to call it that, but some people really call it that. And perhaps in a joking manner, but who knows? Maybe they're really into it. We'll see what happens. So remember, you can follow me at Tumblr. I'll leave a link in it below. And I'm always, I can't say I'm always active, but I do follow and I do answer questions anonymously. Or just an actual user question. You could ask me anytime, and I will respond back as soon as possible. So, until then, I'll see you for more Sparda's World in 2 weeks. Take care. Want more of Sparda's World? Subscribe here today. Every week of Tuesday, a new episode releases, bringing you the latest anime manga news. Except next Tuesday, because we're on a break. Yep. And reviews of the latest chapter from various series. Plus, there are extras at any time or schedule that discuss other topics, including first impression, final thoughts, and many more. Subscribe today, and I'll see you next for more Sparda's World.